Alright, what's up all you ponies out there? I'm Duuz-Diz-Din and I'm back again with another My Little Pony review. This time it's the 1 hour special, and I mean 1 hour, exactly 60 minutes. The 1 hour special My Little Pony Rainbow Road Trip. This is actually a very interesting case, as it's actually not animated by the usual team. Normally, most My Little Pony and Equestria Girls and everything is usually animated by DHX Media, and but this time around, it's actually done by Boulder Media, people who are behind such classes like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, El Tigre, The Amazing World of Gumball, Randy Cunningham. Like, dude, if you're into animation at all for the past decade or two, then you're definitely in on this animation team. So definitely a good step in the right direction in terms of animation. A fun time ready to be had. Now, I will say off the bat that this is not a core episode. It's not a core special. I mean, most specials that we've gotten from this series haven't really been like supremely hard on hardcore. It's more or less kind of been a fun little romp, a fun little side adventure that's sweet in nature, and that's exactly what this special is. But that's enough yabbing, let's get into it. So we open up on a song. Actually, interestingly enough, just a song called Rainbow Road Trip. And it's actually a very nice, sweet song, but it's sung by someone who's actually new to the My Little Pony franchise, at least in terms of vocals, someone called Silo Charity. So, I've listened to some of her stuff. Gospel country isn't really my thing, but it's a nice little tune, a nice little ditty. But Rainbow receives this letter from this unknown town, which we come to find out is called Hope Hollow, and they're having a little get together in honor of Rainbow Dash, for the Rainbow Dash fan club. And they've invited her and all of her friends to join in on the celebration. So we have a little moment where, all of her friends hear about the trip and they all get ready in their own unique ways. And, of course, we get a nice little montage of showing off the personality of each of the main six. Rarity and her poshness, Applejack and her down home loving apples, Fluttershy her love of animals, Pinkie Pie and her love of all things party related, and Twilight Sparkle with her books and stuff. And Rainbow Dash just bringing the cool. And so that's basically what we have. And we have this nice little shot done in this, hybrid animation style of the movie and the regular animation, but it's not really done by either. It's done by a separate company. But, honestly, in this style, they keep switching between the regular TV show style and the movie style, where there's a little bit more detail in certain areas, but we still have the imagery of the regular, you know, 2D animated series. So it's interesting, and it's a little bit it throws you off in a little bit of places, but it makes sense because it's a different animation style. And so they're going by Blimp, because it's a bit of a ways away, and we have this nice little moment where Rainbow Dash races against Pinkie Pie, which, honestly, this is something I don't think we've ever really seen, at least not in more recent seasons. This seems more like a season 1 kind of thing, and that's a lot of the characterization that I see here, a lot of season 1 situations and rivalries and competitions, but ultimately the two of them are actually already late, as Fluttershy, Applejack, and Rarity have already arrived at this whole get together. And they're going by Blimp, trying to catch a tailwind to the event. And it's all for Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash is the big deal, so they couldn't really even leave her. And we see the very last arrival, Princess Twilight, who just had to pick up a few papers to grade along the way, because Twilight. And as she sees off Spike and leaves him in charge of, the school while they're gone, I think this takes place right after like one of the previous episodes where we led up to the summer break. So they're just grading papers and stuff for the summer vacation. And so Spike is left in charge of everything while they're gone. Unfortunately, all of Twilight's papers are a little too heavy and weigh down the friggin' blimp, which is just like, what? But, they toss it over and they, wave goodbye to Spike, who wants to hear everything about the event after they come back. So we get a nice little moment of them just sailing through the skies. Naturally, Rainbow Dash is really kind of headstrong, impulsive, just really kind of, I guess, usual Rainbow Dash, honestly. And she's, gloating about the fact that she's, it's all about her. And I love this little moment with Applejack because we don't see enough of it, honestly. Where she's just like, oh, she's going to be like this throughout the whole entire trip, isn't she? And so we actually have a moment to actually read off the letter that was sent to Rainbow Dash, which lists off all these events happening in Hope Hollow. Butterfly garden, this fishing pond, celebration for Rainbow Dash, this fashion boutique, and this karaoke contest, and the extensive library, all these things that just seem a little too good to be true. And even Twilight kind of lampshades this and saying like, this sounds a little bit too good to be true. Something doesn't seem quite right about all of this. Seems a little too perfect, but naturally Rainbow Dash just brushes it off, saying that they'll have a great time. But it actually takes a good while for them to get there, showing that this is quite a ways away, but Pinkie Pie, as always, is in high spirits. But they end up finding something in the sky, a rainbow that seems to be leading them to Hope Hollow, apparently, because it says it's at the end of the rainbow. So apparently they're getting close to Hope Hollow, especially since this rainbow isn't an actual rainbow, but in fact the sign, which the main six crash right into, and they bring down the sign on top of their balloon. So while they're able to all, make it out safely, their blimp is a wreck. But Pinkie Pie notices a sign that says, hey, it's Hope Hollow, although there's no welcoming party to greet them or anything, and the sun is already going down. So they have no real choice except to go into Hope Hollow and just hope that they can find some place to stay for the time being. But when they get there, it's nighttime. Everyone's, in their homes, and it's a little spooky atmosphere. Everything looks very dim and darker than it should be. And when they eventually do run into another pony, specifically Petunia Petals, they ask, hey, don't we have a celebration going on here in honor of Rainbow Dash? But Petunia makes it sound like someone named Sunny is up to something, before she says that, well, ultimately the mayor's office is closed at this time and won't be open until the morning. Best you find some lodgings. And those lodgings is specifically where Petunia Petals works. She operates the local the local hotel, along with a bunch of other stuff, because as they go in, they kind of find it a little bit in a darker disrepair and all that. But when Petunia Petal says, it's just like, well, I'm in charge of basically everything, the library, history, she runs a lot of the major facilities in terms of, tourism and entertainment for people coming into town. And we also find out, since they don't really receive too many tourists, they only have one primary room, the royal suite. However, once they get there, it's not really as royal as it was advertised. But as Petunia leaves, Twilight kind of calls it out. Isn't something off about Petunia? Isn't she lacking a few colors? So it just kind of seems like, oh, okay, then, that's weird. Maybe it's just our imagination or something. But Rainbow Dash ends up feeling a little bit bad about the fact that, Well, I'm sorry I got you into such a bad situation, and it seems like our whole situation isn't that great. But Twilight, ever the friendship strengthener. It's just like, well, we're in this together, so as long as we're together, we'll be perfectly fine. And the next morning, once they set up, they notice it's not just Petunia. Everyone lacks color, and everyone's staring at them because they're the only colored ponies in town. And it's just a very weird situation because the whole town is in black and white. Not necessarily black and white, as you can tell that there are certain colors here. I feel sorry for anyone who is colorblind, though, but you can tell that there are colors underneath, like there's just this gray overtone over the city, and you can kind of see the hints of colors, but it's very faded. And so they realize that maybe should we talk to someone about this? Would it be rude? And they end up, running into these two little ponies, ponies who are really competing in order to kind of two little Pegasus foals, who are just Pickle and Barley, who are seem to be competing or practicing their flying. But when they run into Rainbow Dash, they immediately back off and run away. So it just continues on that weird situation going on in town. But they also do notice that the balloon seems to be being worked on by some unknown ponies. And when one of them runs past them, he seems to recognize them. And this is the mayor of the town, Sunny Skies, who had actually invited them to the town for the Rainbow Festival. They're also introduced to another pony named Torque Wrench, who has been commissioned to help out repair the balloon. Although she makes it known that she was volunteered for it. She's not too happy about being, just forced into doing this whole thing. But when they ask about the whole situation with the town being in gray tones, Sunny Skies kind of brushes this off and tells them, hey, why don't I just show you around the festival? But the festival isn't really much of a festival. The spring that they touted, this mud spa, is just a little pond. And apparently a lot of the events haven't even really been set up or anything. The butterfly garden isn't really much of anything because without colors, the butterflies aren't really attracted to the flowers, which doesn't seem like that should work that way, but whatever. And even the rainbow trout pond that they toted, it's just some dude in a suit. So, and even their karaoke contest stage seems to be not much of anything. And when they ultimately confront Sunny Skies over the fact that, yeah, your festival doesn't seem to be much of a festival, he ultimately admits that there is no real Rainbow Festival. And while they're a little bit aggravated, Fluttershy says, hey, let's hear the guy out before we storm out of the city, naturally really upset. And Sunny Skies gives a nice little song called The End of the Rainbow about a better time when his, grandfather had actually been one who started up the Rainbow Festival because their, city was so ideal, so nice. It was such a special place that they called the End of the Rainbow because it was like a treasure in and of itself, where everyone was kind and nice and thoughtful to each other. And his Sunny Sky's grandfather had created this device called the Rainbow Engine, I believe, the Rainbow Generator, which would actually just send out this display of rainbow colors using they make it sound like magic, but I think it's more of mechanical than anything else. And it was passed down from Sunny Sky's grandfather to his father to him, and then it came around to his time to send out the rainbow and all that good stuff. But over time, a lot of ponies started to kind of stop talking to each other, stop communicating, and the Rainbow Festival stopped being a big event for, Hope Hollow. It stopped being a this big event that people actually went to and just enjoyed. And Sunny Sky started tinkering with the rainbow generator to help bring the hope out of various ponies. But when he tried to shoot it out after he tinkered with it, it ultimately just exploded, and all the colors seemed to have drained from Hope Hollow, and it's been like that ever since. And all the ponies around have just ever since stopped talking with each other entirely. It's almost like they've become strangers with their own neighbors. And he had hoped that by inviting Rainbow Dash and all of her friends who are very, predominant in the pony world, that maybe they could bring some change and hope to Hope Hollow. But ultimately, it seems like that might have been a lost cause, that there's nothing he can really do. But the ponies ultimately decide that they will join up and help out and do what they can. He had hoped the sign had actually been the only last bit of color that was still in the city, and they hope to, rebuild it better than ever to help bring back love and joy in the whole of Hope Hollow. So ultimately, all the ponies split up into groups of, well, not so much groups of two. Twilight goes with Rainbow Dash, Applejack stays behind to help out with the repair of the sign, Rarity heads off, and Fluttershy heads off with Pinkie Pie. And while Twilight does her best to blast the town with magic, ultimately throwing magic at the city, it doesn't really do much because, you don't even know what this spell actually is. So Rainbow Dash decides to give it a try, and she sends out a sonic rainbow, which seems to color the town at least for a moment, but ultimately is to no avail. Then Rainbow Dash ends up running into the two foals from before, Pickle and Barley, who seem to be actually, not that great at their flying, and they need a little bit of practice. And they are actually embarrassed over the fact that they can't, seem to get their routine down right, especially in front of someone that they admire so much, revealing themselves to actually be the Rainbow Dash official fan club here in Hope Hollow. So there wasn't much of a lie on the part of Sunny Skies. And they've been trying and practicing to try to get her moves down, but they can never seem to really get it right. So Rainbow Dash offers to help them, teach them everything that they need to know in order to become future Wonderbolts. And with that, we actually see a bit of color return to the nearby windfield that none of the other ponies notice. So it's actually hope that seems to be what the catalyst for bringing back the colors to Hope Hollow. And we see that through the various deeds that the various ponies do throughout the whole town, which makes you wonder, why wasn't this touted as a friendship emergency for the town? Ultimately, don't we still have the map, or is Hope Hollow so far out that you don't see it on the map? So maybe that's why, because the map didn't say anything about the Storm King just ruling over the surrounding areas of Ponyville and Celestia and Luna's kingdom. So maybe that's why. It's really hard to tell, but Applejack is very interested in the crafting that, Torque Wrench will ultimately have to do. It just feels that it is great work, it's good work, and it's work that she should be very proud of, which Torque Wrench doesn't seem to really agree with, as she finds that, oh, well, ultimately it's just tinkering and, fixing up stuff. There's nothing that special. But Applejack says, no, that's very special. You're doing something that only you can do. And that is something great. That's something that you should really take pride in, which Torque Wrench never really thought about, and she starts to kind of reassess how she feels about the whole situation of being a fix-it pony. And as she starts to fix up the sign with Applejack, a little bit more color returns to some nearby lumber. Meanwhile, Rarity goes off to a nearby boutique in town, and she actually notices a few of her own designs, stuff that she made in the actual shop. And when she goes in, she meets up with everyone's newest favorite pony, Kerfluffle, who is the sweetest pony around. Very kind, such a sweet little thing. Also the first disabled pony that we've seen, physically disabled pony that we've actually seen in the series, with only 3 actual legs, but doesn't seem to impede her in any way. And she's a big fan of Rarity, very much touting all of Rarity's works and designs. But when Rarity notices some of Kerfluffle's own stuff, she's like, well, this is actually very nice and fantastic. Why aren't you displaying your own work on the windows? That would make more sense. You could sell your own stuff. But Kerfluffle doesn't feel that it really would sell that well, since ultimately, without colors, it doesn't seem that grandiose or great. But Kerfluffle still designs stuff because she feels she can still sense where the colors are supposed to be. Even noticing that a rainbow colored cloth still, she can still tell what the colors are supposed to be because she can still feel it within her. Which is a very nice thing. It shows an eye for design. It shouldn't work that way, but still. But Rarity says that she will help Kerfluffle continue to create her own, specialty designs that they'll put on sale for the Rainbow Festival. And with that, we actually see a purple colored hat start to illuminate. Meanwhile, Twilight goes to the local library, where she runs into our favorite librarian, Sunny Skies, where Twilight is very taken with the library because there's such a vast assortment of books. Twilight would very much feel at home here. And we also get a bit of hints because when talking with Sunny Skies made it very clear he thinks very highly of Petunia Petals. It's very special sun pony to him. And, it's obvious that Petunia feels very much the same. But, she shows Twilight around the various magic sections of the library to hopefully give Twilight a hint as to what she needs to put out there. On the other side of things, we have Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy arrive at the bakery, which ultimately is just kind of seems to be closed for business. But they do end up running into 2 other ponies, Mr. and Mrs. Hoofington, who have a pie of their own, which Pinkie Pie decides, hey, I'll try it out and maybe we could get some pies in for the actual Rainbow Festival. But when she takes a bite out of it, it's kind of crunchy. Pie shouldn't be crunchy like that. And when they ask Mr. and Mrs. Hoofington what they use for ingredients, they say, oh, well, it's, just simple apricots. But they ultimately ask, hey, can we see that apricot tree and find out why your apricots are so crunchy? And as Rainbow Dash continues to teach Pickle and Barrel, we continue to see that they're still struggling and still not really making it so much and still crashing into each other. They can't seem to really, get their footing in terms of flying. But Rainbow Dash says, hey, it's ultimately because you're trying too many fancy moves. You're trying to, run before you even learn how to walk. And maybe just testing out the basics will help you become future Wonderbolts. And that hope brings, again, more color to Hope Hollow. And as they arrive at Mr. and Mrs. Hoofington's home and see their various assortment of apricot trees, they notice that these apricots don't actually look ripe, but ultimately that's the problem. Mr. and Mrs. Hoofington can't really tell which apricots are ripe because there's no color. Usually, ripe is, kind of peach yellowish color. Well, unripened is green, but it's just like you can't tell without any colors. But, ultimately the only apricots that they see that look ripened are on the property of another pony, and they can't really go through with getting it because Moody Root shoos them away from getting those apricots. And, when Fluttershy kind of calls out Mrs. Huffington for, hey, have you actually tried talking to this Mr. Moody Root about this? She goes over and compliments Moody Root's apricots and says, hey, they're probably very delicious, and they'd probably be even more delicious in a pie. And so as he reintroduces Mr. and Mrs. Huffington to their neighbor Moody Root, Pinkie Pie suggests that, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Huffington, we're going to make these pies for the Rainbow Festival. Why don't we all join up and they can bake you a pie out of your apricots? Which Moody Root agrees to, because it's just like, well, I just kind of eat them by themselves, but a pie, I'm down for a pie. And with that, display of reaching out a hand, one of the apricots lights up. However, Twilight Sparkle isn't having that much of a great time figuring out what the actual problem is. She's not finding anything on why the color has left Hope Hollow. And as she notices a voice coming from a nearby room, we find Sunny Skies in this room called the Rainbow a Rainbow Festival room that just in celebration of the previous Rainbow Festivals. And ultimately, we find that some of the pictures in there of a better time kind of still are in color, but ultimately, Sunny Skies hasn't figured anything else out. He's just kind of found that, it's just a grim reminder of the failure that he's had. But when Petunia Petals comes in, they have this awkward moment where, Petunia wants to ask if Sunny Skies has figured anything out, but he's simply too busy writing up a speech he wants to give off later down the line. And, Petunia ends up showing Twilight the pictures between the time when the color was there, when the generator exploded, and when the color was all gone. And she even shows that the device wasn't completely destroyed. It's still, but it's not in really great working order. So maybe Twilight can figure something out from the, destroyed machine. And as the, Applejack and Torque Wrench manage to get the, sign back up, Sunny is actually really happy about that and starts to feel that maybe they can figure things out for the, reinvigorated Rainbow Festival. And, we see some nearby ponies with their young foal kind of really excited for the Rainbow Festival. And once he's told, yeah, we'll go if it's actually going on, his hair lights up as well. And while, Twilight and Petunia come out to show off the machine to Sunny Skies, who's not too certain about it, Twilight says that they'll try to recreate the situation and reverse it, hopefully bringing back the color to Hope Hollow with the help of Torque Wrench, who says that she's on the job. So Sunny starts to get a little bit of hope for maybe something will actually be done for the most part. But when Petunia wants to talk things over with Sunny about his speech, he shies away, obviously kind of embarrassed. I love the fact that even in black and white, you can tell he's blushing. But Petunia's actually kind of like questioning why Sunny seems a little bit apprehensive about talking with her. And as Moody Roots ends up trying out the pies of Mr. and Mrs. Huffington, they actually take a little bit of pride in their baking. Now they're actually managing to make good stuff yet again for the first time in a while. And as Pinkie Pie's like, hey, let's take all of these to the Rainbow Festival, everyone is all too happy to join up and have their products shown off and given to the various ponies, as a nearby apricot tree lights up even more. And as Torque Wrench manages to get the rainbow generator back into working order, Twilight really appreciates Torque Wrench's job, and Torque actually has learned to really take pride in her work and just enjoy the challenge of making things, which lights up some nearby flowers. But this time, Applejack actually notices it. And while she tries her best to get Twilight to notice it as well, Twilight says, hey, turn on the generator and let's light it up. And while it does generate a rainbow and Twilight adds some magic to it, ultimately it doesn't really do anything, showing that it ultimately wasn't the generator that actually accomplished anything, and that it was something else besides it that drained the color away from the town. And while Applejack continues to try to point out that the color is in fact returning, they're interrupted by the fact that Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy have shown up with the Huffingtons and Moody Roots with all the pies. And we also have a display by Pickle and Barley, showing off their flying abilities, though they still need a little bit more practice in their landing. And everything's kind of getting set up with, Fluffle sending out all of her originals. And we even have various different clothing items for all the main six. Reddy gets a scarf, Fluttershy gets these nice leggings, which I know is a few people's fetish. Pinkie Pie gets this lei. Rainbow Dash gets these cool goggles, like really nice toy accessories, but it's Hasbro, My Little Pony, of course, toy accessories. And Twilight gets this thing called Wing Bling, which are these nice rainbow colored wing covers, which will be interesting once they actually get into color. And Twilight's, despite the fact that they didn't manage to get the color back, she's actually very taken with all the work and effort every pony has actually put in to the whole situation. Although she does feel sad that they weren't able to get the actual colors back to Hope Hollow. But Applejack comes in and it's just like, hey, that's what I've been trying to tell you. The colors are actually coming back already. This means, it wasn't the generator, it was something deeper. As they start to notice, yes, nearby colors are continuing to come back. And as color starts to return to the various clothing items and very different elements, Twilight starts to realize maybe there's something deeper. And as she goes back to research things with Petunia, they notice that something about the way these pictures are sequenced seems a little off. And as Sunny Skies arrives, he's ready to give out his speech, but they want to show off how things are going in town. And as the Huffingtons give off their, sell off their wares, color returns to them. As Petunia sells her wares, color returns to the people around her. And Sunny Skies comes out to see that, hey, color is actually returning. Things are actually getting better in Hope Hollow. And Petunia calls out, hey, it wasn't you. It wasn't your fault. Ultimately, these pictures were rearranged wrongly. In fact, the colors started disappearing before the generator even went off. So it goes to show that it was something called a spell of hopelessness, which seems like a bit of a reach, but ultimately, we've already seen during this season that friendship is actual magic. Because of the magic of friendship, Twilight was able to dig deep and pull out this ability from within her without the elements of harmony. So why can't hopelessness be a version of that? Why can't, a hopelessness and a lack of caring in each other also ultimately cause something like this? Why? Because it hasn't happened in other places, and that makes no sense, but I'm just gonna roll with it. But, so, Torque Wrench ends up managing to bring out the Rainbow Machine ready to give it a whirl as Sunny Skies sets up for his speech because, hey, it's just this display of hope that's gonna bring back the colors. The colors are already coming back, so why not just give his grand speech? And it's a very nice speech, a very wonderful speech about togetherness and friendship and kindness and just being nice to each other. Take a little time out to just be kind to your neighbors. I know My Little Pony just continues to rehash these various different lessons, and a lot of people call the series out on that. But if today's society and world is anything to go off of, these are lessons that bear repeating. These are lessons that people just can't seem to recall and, reaffirm. And sometimes they need a gentle reminder. Hey, be nice to the people around you. And as Sunny Sky sets off the rainbow generator and it shows a beautiful display, various amounts of color return to the people of Hope Hollow as they've started to really regain their hope. And Twilight's wings light up, and the various accessories that Kerfluffle had given out light up, and everyone lights up. And it even gets to the point where Petunia Petals is just like, that was a great speech. But Sunny Skies says, well, that wasn't my speech. And his speech was actually one to Petunia about how she's always been there for him and always cared for him and is someone he truly cares for. And he gets down on, one hoof. I don't think that works like that. And asks Petunia to marry him. And I bawled like a baby. And they, affirm their love for each other. And it's so sweet. It's so nice. It's so adorable. And it's so wonderful. And, Pinkie Pie's face was my face. Like, oh my god, I am tearing up and about to cry and all that good stuff. But the one thing about these designs with the big old eyes is just like, you can't really see too much of a range of emotions sometimes unless they break model. And as Fluttershy gives off the display of the future Junior Wonderbolts, the colors return to them in their excitement, and they give off a nice aerial display with Rainbow Dash, along with a Rainboom. And, Rainbow Dash says, now this is a festival truly worth coming to. And the butterflies even return for the Butterfly Garden. And we cap things off with a nice sweet little song called Living in Color that had me bawling at the end of it, because I don't know if it's just because I've been going through a very hard time with work, but man, I got really stupidly emotional towards the end of this. But a great little moment, a great little production, a great little song, and we get a nice little send-off for the main six as things come to a close. They see off the various friends they've made in Hope Hollow, and we end out Rainbow Road Trip on a colorful fireworks display. This was a fantastic special. Not plot related, no villain, no dire situation, just a nice little moment that was really fun to see, very touching, very sweet, and really that's what this series is. Touching, sweet, nice, just a fun time, just something you could enjoy. And I feel that a lot of people seem to forget that this is something to be enjoyed, to be loved, to be liked, and just feel good about being you, to be reminded of the kindness that you should just give and show to others, of the fact that friendship is magic. As cheesy as that sounds, friendship is magic. And by sharing kindness and just giving to others and just giving a nice hello to someone every once in a while, that's all someone needs. That's something I need to remember sometimes. And, well, even if it takes a few reviewings of this special, it's a lesson that I'll happily learn time and time again. And hey, tell me what you thought of this special. How did you feel about it? Did you enjoy it? Did you feel it wasn't anything special? Did you enjoy any of the ponies that were newly introduced to this? How did you feel about this newer art style done by Boulder Media? Do you enjoy the movie style, or do you care more for the original style? Especially since this was more like a blending of the two. But honestly, I enjoyed it. I would love to see more little nice specials based off of this. Even though the this generation is about to come to an end. This was very great, and I can hope that they, even far into the future, we continue to have moments like this. But tell me all about it in the comment section below. How did you feel about this special? And if you liked this video, if you like this review, leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to give me a dislike and tell me what I did wrong in the comment section below so I might better myself for future videos. Subscribe and hit the bell icon, that way you never miss out on another My Little Pony episode, special, whatever review, especially since we have an Equestria Girl special coming up. I'm definitely going to review that. And if you want to find me on social media, just Google Duuz-Diz-Din. I am everywhere, for better or for worse. And until next time, just remember to just give a fine, fond hello to your friends, to your neighbors, to anyone that you feel might just need a nice hello. And until next time, I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I think it's time for me to go to bed. Bye-bye.